everyone, it is Chris with Just Add Water. I am out at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines, Iowa, obviously. We are at the Discovery Garden, which is a Master Garden display garden right outside the agricultural building. Probably a lot of people watching this video have actually been to this garden. Very, very popular place on the State Fair. Today we're actually going to show off a pond we helped the Master Gardeners build back in 2009, so that's like 13 years ago. So we're going to check out a 13-year-old Aquascape ecosystem and see how it's doing, but we're also going to get we've got a tour of the garden a day before the fair actually opens. So we've got some kind of early access to this thing. We're going to take a look at the garden, see how everything's looking. I know it's going to look awesome, so come with me, let's go check it out. All right, so Dean, obviously we've been to the garden since 2009. You've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know any history before 2009 on this place. So if you want to tell me about your experience at the garden or what you do here.
Okay, I became a Master Gardener in 2006 when I retired from the Guard as a soldier.
Okay.
And then had a chance to take the class, which is something I'd wanted to do for a long time, but when you're full-time in the Guard, it doesn't work. So anyway, but then I got involved in here just as a place to work, and then, I don't know, a couple of years after that, one of the gals that was a co-chair at that point in time, quote-unquote, talked me into being another co, because it was getting big enough, we needed more than one or two leaders, so I was kind of a third, I think, at that time.
Okay.
So anyway, so I've been involved with it. I'm kind of the fix-it guy. I can do flowers for them, but I'm not the bed designers and such that we'll see in the garden. And we've got some really, really talented gardeners when it comes to that piece. So I kind of build things and fix things, and so forth. So, but this garden was originally a project for the Men's Garden Club of Des Moines. And we're about 30 or 35 years total for the garden. And when I came here, there was a pond, not in real good shape, and then 2009 was kind of where you stepped in and helped when we renovated the pond, which we'll see here in a little bit, and so forth. But we have probably 60 to 70 to 80 folks that work in the garden all year. Our agreement with the fair is from spring through frost to have the garden up and running, and our absolute focus is to have it peak during the state fair.
Okay.
Some years it's pretty easy, some years it doesn't work out well.
So you said 60 to 80 people. Like, how many hours a week do you think people are here, like, working?
Our normal, what we call our normal work night. We have a scheduled work night, but it's when people can get here is when they come to work. So we work probably 2 hours every week on that scheduled night. We start about 4 and then leave when you get done or can, and we're usually done about 6, kind of, sort of. There's no magic number, but then a lot of people come, either some of the folks, because we tend to be a little older folks, some of them come early in the morning so they beat the heat. Some come on the weekends because they're still working, and that's when they're free. So we have several thousand hours a year that are logged into the Master Gardener system that go into this garden. Yeah.
So you got spring planting. I mean, we got annuals everywhere around here.
Right.
And then it's just maintenance after that. It's pulling weeds, watering. I mean,
and we have a number of perennials. Yeah.
So is there like a master design?
There's not. Each bed, and there are 26 or 27 beds in the garden, and each bed has a team, and they've got rain to design that, and then in the fall when we order plants or seeds, then we work off of that to build, for the garden. And then so it's an all year round project, kind of.
Okay.
It slows down a lot during the winter once frost has come and we've cleaned the garden out, but then we're into the planning and getting ready for the next growing season.
Okay. So obviously very popular place during the fair.
Extremely popular during the fair.
Very popular outside the fair. I know people walk through here pretty much year round.
They do. For the east side, a lot of people use this as their park. because other than the good guys and National Pork Congress and one other thing, the fairgrounds is open all the time. Now there may be events here that in different buildings that you've got to pay to get in, but the gate's open. So people come in and they walk and enjoy the garden and everything year round, pretty much. Still, yeah, people use the garden or in the garden all the time, and you don't realize that till you come in some off hours, like during the weekend, or not during, or leading up to or right after the fair. But there's a lot of people here, and a lot of them that are going to other events on the fairgrounds will make a side trip and come over here.
It's beautiful
to see the garden.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any big projects for the garden coming up? Anything on the I know a couple years ago, or I say a couple years ago, it's probably even more than that.
16.
Like this used to be, we're standing on was like gravel, right? It was like red brick chips or something like that.
It was brick chips. And
so you've got this.
It was a mess.
Yeah. So there's always little things going on. Like I know the shed was.
Right. We rebuilt the barn back in, I think we built the barn after we did the pond. So that was probably 2010, I think, when we did the barn. Okay, it's been that long. Yeah, it's been a while.
So is there anything like kind of like that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because we've kind of expanded out about as far as we can go, and so forth. And the garden was not as big as it is when I first started here, because it really ended over at the sidewalk over here that leads up to the doors of the ag.
You guys are getting more and more real estate.
Yeah, and so it kind of morphed into that going on over to the driveway that's back there. Because I know maybe the first or second year that I was here, there used to be a big tree, huge tree that sat over there.
Okay.
And they cut it down. Oh my God, was it hot. It's probably going to be like the fair is going to be this weekend. August in Iowa is always 90 degrees, and it was just scalding over there during that fair. But so the garden has expanded. The rotunda bed up behind us was something we kind of took over from the fair that they were pretty willing to let us have, because the shrubs and such over there were really overgrown, and so we kind of asked them if we could cut them back, and they said, yeah, sure. And so we've kind of taken over.
So you're expanding
that area, but I think we're about done expanding, because we only have so many people.
Yeah.
And this is an all-volunteer organization.
So on that, if I was watching this video and I wanted to be involved and I wanted to work on this garden, like what do you have to do? Like what's the process?
Okay, there's a master gardener class. Usually it's once a year, and it's conducted by the Iowa State University Extension, and every county has an extension office. Now, they do not all have master gardener programs, but check with your extension office and find out. Usually a class is done in the fall, and I know Polk counties for 2022 going into 23, if you will, is already full.
Okay.
But they're starting, I think, mid-August when that class starts this year.
So how long is that? Is that like a one-day thing, or is it like multiple?
It's about 3 months, I think, like one night a week, or 2 or 3 hours. And then you have to put in 40 volunteer hours the first year to finish your what we call our certification. So then you get a nice little name tag.
So then you have to be a master gardener to work here, sort of.
By and large. Now we accept other people, yeah, but by and large, it's master gardeners. Spouses, usually husbands, get sort of drug into things every so often, because they got construction skills to make things for.
So then I know, so we're at the Discovery Garden, but I know is there the garden in Altoona?
The enabling garden in Altoona.
And that's run by you're the Polk County Master Gardeners, right? So that's run by there, and I'm assuming there's gardens like this all over the state for the Master Gardeners.
Probably not for this side, but there's Master Gardener projects around. I was talking to a extension director from Bramer County this morning. He said this is he was here for a meeting, or to go start whatever they're doing, and he said this is his first stop and his last stop when he comes to the fair. I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be here several days. So they've got project or two in Brainerd County. I know back in Muscatine County that there were some projects there. And it depends on the size of your group. Polk County has got one of the largest numbers, but then it's like most organizations, you've got it's kind of this 90-10.
Yeah.
10% do most of the work and so forth.
You've got your core group or whatever.
Yeah.
What else do you want to tell us?
It's a big project that, you know, any service organization can always use people, whether gardening's your thing or, you know, anything else.
Yeah.
But there's always room for volunteers. Now let me add on to because you asked about what it takes to be a master gardener. Then after that first certification year, then we have to do 20 hours of volunteer work and 10 hours of continuing education.
Every year.
Every year. And at least in Polk County, we have usually 4 classes during the winter that helps with that. So 20 hours of volunteer work, but all 3 of the gardens have education programs during the summer that are conducted in their gardens, and we bring in speakers to talk about different gardening things. And those are all public, and they're open to the public, so anybody can come and I'd like to hear this person talk about, you know, whatever they're talking about that evening. And so they're open to the public with no cost. All you have got to do is show up, bring a chair. And
you'd find those classes listed on the Extension website maybe, or?
Extension will publish them, I think, usually. I think all 3 gardens have got Facebook pages that we put stuff on.
Okay.
And so forth. They can find them there. They'll be on the Extension web page for when the master gardeners get there.
So did you say this is very rewarding? Personally,
Yeah.
like satisfying to be involved in this?
Yeah. It can be a really lot of work, but it's fun. It's rewarding. You know, when you get people to come through and say, you know, really appreciate the garden and really like it. You know, this is one of our first stops or one of the places it's a go-to when we're at the fair.
Yeah. So just add water. There was a pond, as Dina mentioned, there was a pond here before, but we actually volunteered. There was a donation made to rebuild this pond to the Master Gardeners, and that basically paid for the material. And then just add water. We built this over the course of about 6 or 8 working days, and I say working nights or whatever. So I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. We'd come down and work 2-3 hours, and then we'd work on Saturday. And I would bring our crew down here, so we'd have 2, 3, 4 people from Just Add Water. Then we'd have all these awesome volunteers from the Master Gardeners, sometimes 10, sometimes 20, and we would just kind of split up in teams. You know, one crew would be working on the pond area.
Moving dirt.
Yeah, moving dirt, digging wetland, moving rocks. Heck, we had, I think it was it Eugene that had the rock cleaning grate? Someone had set up a whole, we had a river rock cleaning station with like a screen and a frame, and they would wash down the river rock. So I want to say it was about 6 or 8 2-hour work days. And, you know, over the course of, I don't know if it was like June and July, but we had it done before the fair, obviously. And that was 2009. And then since then, every spring we actually do the spring maintenance. And we do that as a class where we come down and clean it. We usually get some volunteers from Master Gardeners to help us. But we must have had, like, during the build, 20 to 30 different people.
Yeah, we had good help then.
So,
and there was a lot of dirt moved.
There was a lot of manual labor. Everything was done by hand here. We dug everything by hand. We had to bring in rocks, and I think the dirt went outside the garden in one of the beds now. And then once we finished, the Master Gardeners came around and just did their thing with all the plants and all the stuff around it. We worked around stuff like, I'm going to say that hydrangea was probably there when we built it.
I think it was.
So we worked around that. Obviously, some of these other bigger shrubs and trees and stuff, we just worked around that while we're here. This bridge we're standing on was here. We never even moved it. We just worked right underneath it. It was part of the old system. I'm trying to remember, the old system was maybe a quarter of this size.
Quarter to a half.
So we just expanded it, built this longer stream, all that good stuff. What did I forget about this?
The bridge itself is a mimic or a mock-up of the the bridge from the music room. It's a very popular place for photographs.
Absolutely.
All year.
Yeah. I think I have a whole bunch of them with my kids and family on this bridge. So that's what I got on the history of us doing this. 2009, so we're at that, what, 13 years it's been in the ground. Pretty much trouble-free, a few repairs we've made. And 13 or 12 now spring paint outs with the, those are usually mid to late April, and we do them on a Saturday from 9 to 1. And we actually advertise, we invite our clients down to basically learn a DIY how to clean their own pond for service work. So this has been one of our classes for 12 years for our customers and the people that find us through whatever means to learn about ponds. And some years we'll have a few volunteers. I know we always try to get them in the pond to get them to work. So big job in the spring, but then from there on out, the master gardeners just take care of it. It looks amazing today. It always does. So if I remember correctly, if I was down at the fair, obviously you got everything labeled, which is awesome. But isn't this on like a website? You guys still do that?
Our website will have pictures of every plant that are in here, along with the names, just some common information about them, whether they're sun, whether they're shade, height, light requirements. Yes, that's all on our
So it's on a website. So if I was down here and I'm like, you know, I took a picture, but I didn't get the label on it, or I want to go look at what you actually, if I want to recreate this bed that you have in one area,
Sure.
I can get all that. All right, so traditional Aquascape pond here. We've got the pond down here. I don't know, it's around 15 by 15, maybe 15 by 18. It's got a skimmer on it that houses our pumps. We're actually running 2 pumps on this system, one for the stream, one for the wetland filter, which I'll show you right here. Then we've got this long stream. I'm gonna say it's like 35 feet, actually, pretty close. About halfway up the stream, there's actually a wetland filter, an Aquascape upflow wetland filter. And from there, that's where one of the pumps goes. The second pump goes up to the source, which is a bioflow filter. So it's got all your components for an Aquascape ecosystem, how we build them every day. Like I said, we built this thing in 2009. We haven't really changed the way we build stuff. And it just functions. Every year it gets a little better. The pond is only 2 feet deep. They've got goldfish in here. They overwinter in this pond all winter. They've set up an aerator and a de-icer, and they've got water plants along the edge.